What is up, Halo YouTube? This is TiberiusAudley right back again with another video. Today I'm going to be weighing in on the whole eUnited drama going on right now. For a quick refresher, Spartan kind of out of nowhere suddenly announced he was benching himself on eUnited. I'm going to give you guys kind of a quick run through on that, going over their stuff. Sparty mentions he benched himself on eUnited. Said that right before Anaheim, which is 2 events back if you're still just catching up, right before Anaheim, suddenly he got a text from his teammate King Nick at 3 in the morning saying, "Why are you guys trying to drop me? What's that about?" And apparently Ryanoob, or Spartan alleges Ryanoob was trying to drop Nick for formal without communicating it to the rest of the team at all, and that eUnited management was also going along with it. And that, plus the team's kind of slipping in performance, they've finished second at Raleigh and they've gone down a placing every tournament since then, has kind of led to Spartan wanting to explore other team options. He said after Kansas City ended, he's received offers from multiple teams, and there's one team even willing to buy him out, but eUnited is saying no. He said he pretty much doesn't want a team with Ryan, and Ryanoob needs to stop shooting himself in the foot and sabotaging teams. And he's benching himself even though it means his pay is now an unlivable wage. So this is what's going on with Spartan from his side of the story. eUnited weighed in like the next day, I believe, saying that they're very disappointed to hear Spartan is choosing to bench himself. They claim Tyler was already threatening to self-bench in order to sort of make his demands be met. And eUnited said they've listened to his requests and they were trying to work with him to actually come up with a solution that everybody could be happy with. They mentioned there's been interest in picking up Tyler, but there's no formal buyout offer, so no one has actually said, okay, yes, we're interested in giving you money so we can have this player, which is the unfortunate situation with contracts in Halo and esports in general, is you actually do have to have somebody paid to take over your contract, so you can't just jump from team to team like in the old days of Halo. If you're from the MLG era, team changes last minute, or even just event to event where all the time going on. That's something that doesn't happen anymore because of contracts being involved. They've also reached out to another organization in order to try to trade Spartan, but they got no response at the time they made this post. Like they had no formal response regarding buyout or a trade. They did not mention who they had reached out to trade with, so we can only speculate on that. But also, they mentioned the door is still open for Tyler to return to the starting roster. And then just today, in fact, Ryanoob finally weighed in with his a week late post. He had good reason for his post to be a little bit late. He's been busy with his wife, or fiance, wife. I'm not sure about his exact relationship status, but Ryanoob is now a father, so he's been busy dealing with that. So credit to him for coming back from that and immediately just weighing in on what's been going on. He claims he had pitched the idea of formal to management and didn't tell Tyler because he was afraid of what Tyler's response would be. Kind of sounds like people in narcissistic relationships try to not communicate certain things to their partner because they're afraid their partner may blow up. It kind of sounds like this is the situation Ryanoob was feeling with Spartan as a teammate. He's also very unstable responses to things is sort of his take on this. He claims he reached out to management to reach out to Optic to try to pick up formal without telling Tyler. He even said to formal, "I haven't told Tyler, and it's not a sure thing you can be picked up." But formal said, "Hey, I'm down if you guys get it to work." So management reached out to Optic. They didn't get a deal, and so this all happened without Spartan's knowledge or Nick's knowledge until apparently the thing went through and then failed. Then Rhino mentions Spartan benching himself, said they discussed roster possibilities with management to split from Sparty, whether that meant Ryanoob going to another team or Spartan going to another team. And ultimately, they hadn't made a decision when Spartan just kind of benches himself and forces everybody's hand. And he mentions Spartan is not trapped on the team. There is a buyout, but it's not a small amount. And sometimes those can be negotiated. Like Ryanoob explains this very professionally. So this is a very measured response. You kind of have the chance to do that when you wait a week to actually respond to stuff. But it's definitely not a small buyout. I know some buyouts in this league are 10,000 on smaller teams. So I have no idea what a buyout would look like for one of these larger teams. So they could be even higher than that, and it would not surprise me. It could be 25, could be 50,000, and I would not be shocked at all, because the players are basically the only assets these teams have in order to try to make money. So if you have a player as important to your team as Spartan is, talent-wise, you're going to want to try to keep them. Other than that, Ryanoob says he has no idea what's going to happen. It could be Ryanoob gets traded, could be Spartan gets traded. They could bench Ryanoob and just keep Sparty, and Ryanoob just gets left in contract prison, which most people are speculating is going to happen to Spartan because he benched himself. Like, they're likely to just leave him on the bench. But he says he is completely open to still teaming with Tyler and like brushing everything under the bridge. And so the TLDR, they tried to pick up Formal without telling Tyler till they knew it was a guaranteed thing. It didn't work out. And Spartan shouldn't have tweeted about being benched because it makes everything after that more difficult to figure out. So then the question becomes, what is the possible solution for eUnited? But before we go over that, I want to talk about what eUnited's strengths are, and what their weaknesses are, and what they should be looking for with this. One thing that eUnited have been very good at, like from the start of Halo Infinite, is they're a very disciplined team. They don't just hemorrhage kills and have games completely just chaotically fall apart to the point that they can't try to come back into the game in some way, shape, or form in a lot of times. And when they do lose games, they're usually losing close games. But their weaknesses, on the other hand, their approach to objectives has always left a lot to be desired. Oddball setups, whenever Rain does not have the ball's usually kind of on the outskirts, and if you've seen my oddball video, you know I think the ball should be in the middle of a setup with someone on either side to cover open lanes. eUnited tend to have the ball like on the outside of a setup where they're the first person that's going to be encountered whenever someone actually pushes. And so their setups in oddball fall apart really fast, and they just rely on a lot of scrappy time rather than having really good chunks or rotating the ball away from pressure. It's just a lot of situations where the ball is sitting in a very exposed place and falling apart. They almost never push for a trip cap in strongholds, and if you've seen my other video, also against that. Basically, all of my objective videos that I've mentioned so far, eUnited kind of do the opposite of what I'm saying, and they've been getting away with it for a long time because only the best of the best teams are really punishing them for it because they're so disciplined. Like, they're so good at slaying out. They're good at not just giving away free deaths once things have fallen apart. So they're able to keep things close in a lot of situations, but they keep getting edged out by these better teams, and it's only been getting a larger gap as time goes on and these other teams get better. The other thing, their flag runs on Aquarius, they almost exclusively run utility side. And then they have this weird thing they do on Bazaar where they'll run the flag bottom rockets all the time. And while it works for them quite a bit, the main issue is that if the enemy team is ever like taking over mid control, then your flag is just on the low ground of the map and you're having to fight uphill for the rest of the flag run. So it can fall apart really easily, but they usually execute it in a way that really works for them. So it's not really necessarily just a bad flag route. It's just kind of confusing and inefficient. They're also very incohesive on their playstyles. And this isn't necessarily something that's not fixable. But Spartan and Nick are both players that really want to play fast. They want to be aggressive in your face players, and Ryanoob and Rain are more comfortable with playing this really much more slow play style that is kind of the cornerstone of their strategic objective play that I'm criticizing here. So like those two styles clashing in the team's approach to the game is kind of messing up their ability to really get going and like move forward as a team. And I think this is part of what Spartan's issue with Ryanoob has been, is that he's so adamant that this is the right way to play Halo. Like he even said after Anaheim, the reason they beat Sentinels is because Sentinels play the game wrong. I've been praising Sentinels in my streams whenever I do break down their gameplay, talking about how they play the objective, how they approach the objective. So Sentinels just won a tournament, so there's definitely something there in how they play the game that separates them from eUnited, and I think eUnited's approach to the game is just wrong. I think Spartan is also starting to think that, and he's just kind of singling out Ryanoob as the reason for that, and I think he wants to get free of that as a result. Now, to talk about actual possible options. The big option people keep bringing up is Spartan to go to FaZe. There's rumors of Snipedown potentially just leaving Halo. Spartan to going to FaZe because Snipedown leaving Halo to go back to Apex, where he has been for a while. And I don't think this is actually a likely possibility. Because if you are in eUnited shoes, if you are the eUnited team manager, I think his name is Matthew Pothoff, used to be a Call of Duty pro player, you would have to think, why would I give my best slaying player away to my closest rival? Like eUnited and FaZe Clan keep meeting in tournaments, and they're always a close series. Well, this last tournament, they weren't very close. I think eUnited 3-0'd them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, eUnited slapped FaZe this time. But you wouldn't give away your best slaying player, your best performing player to your closest rival, because then you're just shoving yourself backwards and shoving them ahead of you as a result. So Spartan going to FaZe, not something I see actually happening. Some other options, G2, Fnatic, Luminosity would also be one of the big orgs that would have the money to buy him out. Complexity would have the money to buy him out, as they're Dallas Cowboys owned. But the issue with that, even though it gives Spartan a new home that's not an immediate threat to eUnited, who does eUnited pick up off of those teams as a result? Because there's not really any name. G2 could possibly give away Sabinator for that. Fnatic don't really have any star talents that can even closely rival what they would get from Spartan. And for Complexity, it would be an issue of taking a chance on Chance or Vetra. And with Luminosity, it's again just a young, talented squad that hasn't really developed yet. So there's a lot of gambling when it comes to trying to trade with one of those players. Spartan to Xset, also one they could look at. Xset likely don't have as large of a budget as those other teams, since they don't currently have skins in the game. I know Complexity don't either, but again, Complexity has that Dallas Cowboy money. Xset, I'm not really sure who owns that org, but I also don't think this kind of trade would happen, because then you'd have to, like, the most likely person to be benched out of those four players or traded out for Sparty would be Kratos, and how do you trade the best player in the game? Kratos. You just don't, so that one's not going to happen either. One other possibility I could see, and this is a little bit of a much longer shot, is that eUnited go back to approaching Optic and look for another trade. This time it wouldn't be for formal, it would be for a player not on their active roster, and that would be Pistola. And the reason I would say they would approach Optic for trying to pick up Pistola ties back into what I was mentioning with Ryanoob and Rain's playstyles. If they get rid of Spartan and they want to come in closer to what Ryanoob and Rain's playstyle are, I'm going to take a little bit of a tangent right here and talk about a chess principle of open versus closed games. Spartan is very much what I would call an open player, and by that I mean, we're going to switch to this image right here. On this chessboard, you see this lane is completely open, It's because when trades happened early on in the game, they traded out their pawns to open up these lanes so that rooks have a place to just lock in and attack. There's also open lanes for the bishops to have different routes to attack. So it's very much a situation where you're trying to blast open a place to push, whereas if you watch Ryanoob or you listen to his Behind the Curls videos, he talks about playing your life a lot. Pistola is also that type of player where if you ever watch him more closely and you see him get into a gunfight, if somebody else turns on him and just starts trading fire like on equal footing with him, Pistola will usually back down. And this is also what Ryanoob like literally preaches in his Behind the Curls videos. And it's what I call a closed playstyle, referencing a closed game of chess where you see the pawn structure is generally on these diamonds where the pawns can't move forward any further, and there's a lot of situations where even if you do trade a piece, it's immediately traded back, and you don't really get any progress, and the lanes never really open, so you try to keep the lanes closed as long as possible until you can get like the knights in a position to get a pick off and open up the lanes from the backside. And that's kind of Ryanoob's general approach to Halo as it is in Halo Infinite, is that he's very much close to these closed chess game play styles. And I think picking up Pistola to play alongside Ryanoob puts them like more consolidated in their approach to the game, and I think that gives Pistola a home where he can feel comfortable with players that want to play with his playstyle. There's one other name that I think would also fit Ryanoob's approach to the game, and that would involve a trade from eUnited, sending Spartan down to a lower placing team. And I've mentioned this on Reddit threads, and I mentioned it on the HCS Bracket Show that I do with Devious Grunt HCS, or Devious Grunt Alliance here on YouTube, and our host Arum, or Waveburn. If you guys haven't checked out that show, follow twitch.tv/HCS Bracket Show when you get done watching this video. But they send Spartan down to Space Station Gaming. And if you're looking at this roster, you'd think, okay, Ace is the only one that's really won an event, but Tylenol, he's super talented. He's super fucking good. He's got those high KDs every time. I actually could make another video on this where I talk about how I think Tylenol is the problem on Space Station. He's holding them back. But I will say this about Tylenol. His playstyle perfectly fits everything Ryanoob tries to preach to King Nick and Spartan. He will never push while his teammates are dead. He will sometimes even actively give up space while his teammates are dead and just constantly backtrack. But that playstyle would fit perfectly with the system Ryanoob is trying to instill in eUnited as players. So if they want to just double down on Ryanoob, picking up Tylenol would be the perfect replacement for him in terms of this is a talented player. He's a standout star type player with his stats, and he fits in Ryanoob's system. So that means eUnited gets somebody that can potentially upgrade or side grade their roster without losing too much from losing Spartan. It gives Spartan a new home that is relatively competitive, although they've finished 13th through 16th the last two tournaments. Spartan has won a tournament with Ace before. He won alongside Ace and Boobadoo and Falcated for his only event win, if I'm not mistaken. Collect is a super talented rookie player, very new to the scene, up and coming, and just insane gun skill. And then Rami came along during Halo 5. We saw him play in the HCS Pro Series a few times and do just extraordinarily well filling in for people. I'm pretty sure he even had an overkill like his first series against CLG when he upset them with EG. I may be remembering that incorrectly, but I know he filled in and helped the team get an upset the first time he filled in, which was huge. But if Spartan were to replace Tylenol on that team, I think Space Station definitely improve, and eUnited get to really test, is Ryanoob's approach to the game the right answer or not? And likewise, eUnited as an org get to send Spartan to a team that's not directly competitive with them right now. And Space Station get the benefit of getting someone who's going to put a lot more eyeballs on their org. Spartan, very polarizing figure, but you say what you want about him, he gets people's attention. And sometimes that's for the worse, sometimes that's for the better. He constantly creates content. He constantly puts out streams, he constantly puts out new videos and like stream clips from the day. So he's definitely someone that an org like Space Station would really want to help people who aren't familiar with them finally turn their heads and be like, oh, we should pay attention to these guys. So I think that is the best possible option to come out of all of this. And that pretty much summarizes my thoughts on this video. If you managed to listen to me rant for 20 minutes about this week's worth of drama, congratulations. Thank you for sticking around. I don't have any prizes for you. I'm sorry. But I greatly appreciate your support. If you don't follow me on Twitch TV, where I do live streams where I break down gameplay, you should probably follow me, twitch.tv/TiberiusAudley. Same for Twitter, same name, TiberiusAudley. Follow me there. I tweet when I go live. I tweet random opinions and stuff throughout the day, usually when I'm not working. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you also, the other thing I mentioned in passing, the HCS Bracket Show. Make sure you follow twitch.tv/HCS Bracket Show. We do shows every third or fourth week. Was supposed to be a weekly show. We're not very good at keeping on schedule with it, but the content is always really good. The editing, the format from Aram, he does great work. He's working as a broadcaster for Warner Broadcasting as his professional career, and he puts together really great shows. And if you don't follow Devious Grunt Alliance on YouTube, he also puts together some great content, much better edited than my stuff. Mine's all off the cuff. But either way, follow those guys and tune in anytime you see them live. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. Goodbye.